All right, it's a pretty good audience, and I'm competing with Vegas, so I tried to bring a lot of shenanigans. Part of the shenanigans is real talk, part of it is data. Some of it will be low lows, some of it will be higher highs. That's the world of cybersecurity, right? The biggest part, though, I want to double down on is I'm not here to pander. I'm not here to sell. I'm here to hopefully do what Wes was talking about, what we kind of got going in 2019, 2020, which was giving more content, helping educate. And when I was in the service, one of the biggest things that we were taught was don't be the initial splash, but help the ripple take all the way to water's edge. And so my goal is to arm you all. That means this is going to be rich with screenshot-worthy, picture-worthy stuff. I'm going to share every slide for you to use, abuse, etc., so you don't need to go too crazy with it. But without further ado, I'm going to walk us through where I'm going to go. Let's see, do the demo gods work in my favor? Maybe, maybe not. We'll keep it going. So today, I'm going to show you some cold, hard truths. Part of those cold, hard truths are the reality of, like, data doesn't lie, but you can put bias and perspectives on it. The other stuff I'm going to walk through is a little bit of hacking demo. I've just learned over the time that slides make people's eyes glaze over. They make my eyes glaze over, and the part that I want to double down is I'm not looking to do that for you here. And then I'll talk about what I think it takes to truly wreck cybercrime. While we do this, any chance I get someone from the AV team to beat the clicker over here? If you don't know me, I once was technical, right? I looked cool. I had no gray facial hair. I broke shit. Nowadays, I am really more the chief PowerPoint officer at Huntress, and I get trusted with a lot of sensitive data. I get trusted to tell good stories, and I lead product vision. It's one of the biggest things that I love. I'm still an engineer by trade, but you can imagine I have my Claude bots doing my own stuff for me these days. There we go. I do like to say the quiet parts out loud. What I mean by that is I'm just a huge fan of saying the stuff that might not be the way that people want to hear it, but it often is rooted in truth or data. And so my goal here is to share you that data from a real point of reality. What I mean by this is, like, when I'm telling you stuff, I'm saying I get to look at over 4 million endpoints and 8 million identities. That's between Google Workspace, Microsoft 365. I get to see everybody's fuck-ups. I also get to see some of the coolest wins across about 225,000 businesses. So when I'm giving you perspective, it is rooted in reality, even if it doesn't align with yours. Keeping it going, I get to watch the pace that cool cybersecurity companies, through the help of partners, get to make a big difference. I get to see the rate that we protect those that fall below that kind of Fortune 500 enterprise poverty line. And I can also tell you, I get to see the pace that cybercrime is operating on. And I will tell you, based on our data, we believe roughly in April that it will finally outpace, that cybercrime will be constantly compromising more businesses faster than the sum of the entire industry. That's real talk. That's not me telling you, and that's not FOMO. This is our data. We see it. But it doesn't have to be that way. And to be very frank, I want to push what I think it takes to go this direction. So we've all known that most of our stacks look like this. You've got something to protect the people, something to protect your endpoints, something to protect your identities, data, and of course AI is augmenting all of these. AI is, to me, a foundational technology, right? Plenty of places where AI could also get pwned. And the part that I want to double down on, right, is not all of these are worth the same. What I mean by this is if you put equal weight on any one of these domains or treat all of these domains as the same, you are doing it wrong. From my hard data, I can tell you that the sum of all the other domains, so endpoints, identities, data, and anything you want, if you want to include devices, network traffic, however you want to position your business, people at the end of the day make or break what we're doing. And I'm not just talking about our end users. I'm talking about you all in this audience. I'm talking about your peers. I'm talking about the people that work at your vendors. And really what I want to double down on is there's a little bit of accountability that I want to talk about, because sometimes we're not getting it wrong because we want to get wrong. I just don't think we have the data that tells us that, like, what we do with people really matters. We love to blame it on the end users, right? One day on Reddit, this is our MSP subreddit. One day, human beings, one of them referred to humans as meat. I mean, that's a really, and I'll be real, I'm old enough to remember, I think it was PEBCAC when I joined the Air Force in early 2000s. My network engineers would always refer to it as what? Layer 8 of the OSI model, that's the problem. ID10T error literally has a Wikipedia page that gives like 9 more other things that we make fun of the end users. So like, yeah, they're part of it, by the way. But to be very frank, where I want to like challenge and show you a little bit of what this audience could do is as you're learning this week, and obviously the earlier presentations and some of the stuff for the rest of the week, you got to do something about it. You got to be that ripple. So let's keep it going real quick. I have all the fun data, right? When I say that, I could bore you to death with PDFs and PowerPoints, and my team does surveys, and if you're really interested, yeah, you can go look at it. We interviewed internal IT departments, right? Every flavor of external IT department, whether you identify as an MSP, MSSP, telco, printer copier dealer, some hybrid of a VAR that has pro services. We've interviewed a ton of it, and all the data goes back down to if we had better education and better training, we would have less fire and brimstone, right? But I want to share that I actually think that is a symptom. I think the symptom that it's masking is we as a community probably are not, especially us in the technical professions, we've hidden behind a keyboard way too long, right? I was a diehard geek, right? You saw some of the pictures. I still identify as a diehard geek, but I've had to level up how I communicate. I actually realized that all my tech augmentation, it doesn't matter what my Claudebot and Moltbook is doing and how much sexy automation is going out there, my ability to storytell and bring people to water, right? I can't force them to drink, is making the biggest impact. And I really want to share in here that I think that is the biggest root problem in our organization. I'm not saying everybody needs to be an influencer. I fucking hate it. That's why the only time you see me on LinkedIn is usually talking trash. Keeping it going, I am proud to say that your community does need you, and some of the people in here do this. You can't read the small text, you're not supposed to. The point is, some of the MSPs actually building real content. I'm seeing real hacking demos. This was one of them from age old. I think this is about 5 years ago, doing it at a Chamber of Commerce type event. But the point is they were showing and not telling. And some folks like Paul here, right? He's been in the industry for years. Paul is a guy that, for instance, could just stick to doing the technical, but he works his ass off to be able to learn showmanship. And the reason I'm going to tell you this is, here's the real data at hand. The way that you all look at prospects, whether you're protecting, making it done, et cetera, across all of our incidents, this is what it looks like when it comes to how cybercrime looks at your prospects, because they also feel your same clients are the ones that are going to make them money, or the same people you want to add, they want to be able to get there before you. And you can imagine places that get underfunded, let's think about state and local education, like that is their favorite. Government also in there, and of course there's plenty of other that mix and match. The thing is we sit in a lot of these cybercrime groups. Some of them we infiltrate directly. Some of them we say, fuck around and find out, are they going to report me to the FBI that I'm sitting in their chat? Probably not, regardless of how I gained access in there. And we see they actually have pretty good quarterly goals. They actually have seasonality where they want to take holiday. And so when I'm telling you that this is how they operate, their people too, they're going to, kind of the same playbook I'm giving you, they're weaponizing against us. And the part that I want to double down on is like the maturity of some of this organized cybercrime far exceeds my MSPs doing over 100 million in ARR. And it doesn't surprise you that some of these organized cybercrime groups are doing over $1 billion, not in recurring revenue, but annual revenue. So they would like to make it recurring. The thing that I really kind of starting to beat me up is the way that they talk. They recruit, and if you haven't seen some of the recent both U.S. and Western country, kind of takedowns, more and more often there are people just like you or your peers in the office that are Western folks, well-trained, et cetera, thanks, Andrew, that are more or less getting schooled. Let him take care of this in a second, but what I'm referring to is what they're getting schooled on is the fact that they can't make enough in their MSP job paying them an entry wage of $45,000 a year or $50,000 a year. And as a result, we've seen multiple folks from our industry turn to cybercrime and get arrested. What's funny about this is these malware authors actually believe they have an advantage over all of our industry. They literally boast what they call a one-team advantage. And they believe that since they have the engineers and they're augmented by AI and they have this, they can attract the best talent to do offense. They boast this of why you should come do cybercrime. And this is one of their diagrams that I've lifted. I've made it pretty for the slides. But ain't that some shit, having like a cyber criminal say like, look, we just operate more efficiently. They are disparate teams. The vendors aren't connected with the community. The MSP teams aren't connected with the clients and the customers. And they actually believe this is what will allow their business to continue growing. And when I say mature business models, I won't get in depth, but they start with a position. They're gonna go after Western companies. It's not just because different countries allow or turn a blind eye to cybercrime, it's where the money is. So they know their position. They also know that the people side of it, that if they can attract the best talent, regardless if it's white hat or black hat hacker, et cetera, they don't care. However, they get the best talent, including going out and using things, for instance, like Fiverr type technologies where you can go get somebody to code on your behalf. There is a whole market dedicated to social engineering, people like you that are moonlighting to get you to do stuff that is pen testing that you might actually be conducting offense. They believe that's part of their product mantra, by the way. They keep going and they advertise to each other of why you should work for each cybercrime with their own proof. Hey, last year, the average access broker made at X, Y, and Z cybercrime. You made over $5 million. How much are you making at your other cybercrime group? Like, that's the level of competition that's happening. And they all root this on predictable emotional distress. That's what they believe they are delivering. Like, that's, I mean, let's, you know, I know there's a lot of geeks in here, but let's put our geek hat on and our business hat on over top of it, right? I mean, that's a more mature, succinct pitch than most of our businesses. I'll tell you, that was more mature than Huntress for probably the first 7, 8 years. I'm not talking about like first year. Like we were not this succinct. And so you're hearing me. I'm telling you the stuff you already know. Cybercrime is getting better, faster, stronger. They're leveraging AI. We'll talk about that. I'm telling you other stuff, for instance, like creds, whether you want to buy exploits, whole infrastructure, including AI infrastructure to do your own bots, to be able to do your own agentic technology. So not just the authorized ones, but this network and kind of supply chain of cybercrime now is so mature that it doesn't matter who gets taken down where. There is enough vendors in the cybercrime world that we no longer make a difference when we take down their supply chain. That was like a model that we could have used from 2015 to probably 2023. But since 2023, their supply chain is really robust. And the parts that I want to share with you is when you're thinking about how does the hack du jour happen, if you're still talking to me about high-level stuff like, oh, it could be a remote access tool or a remote desktop, et cetera, you're living probably about 3 to 4 years ago. We've noticed in the last 2 years specifically, at Huntress, threat actors are learning your client's business better than their clients know. And so what I'm referring to is when they get into a concrete company, they're not going and saying, let's ransom the endpoints or take down SharePoint. They're saying, let's get in initially with that identity or in initially with that endpoint. And then they want to learn how does it work? Because guess what? A lot of blue collar work says, piss off ransomware actors. I'm not paying you anything. But do you know what makes blue collar folks actually pay? When they can't pay their employees for 2 pay periods. That's the time in Western governments. If you go and just, soul search yourself, what if you don't get paid for 2 paychecks and it's coming up on the 3rd one? You're probably looking for another MSP to work at. This is what they're actually depending on. So when they're getting in and getting into a construction company, they're actually learning their line of business. They're learning what is the scheduling software to ship concrete or logistics, et cetera. And they will not let them schedule a job whatsoever, or they won't let them run payroll. And that's the easiest way to cripple Western businesses and make them pay. It's not through scary doom and gloom. They're learning your business, the databases, et cetera, so much better than I've ever seen. And the reason I'm bringing these to light is when I talk about the velocity they're getting at, they're not just getting faster, they're getting better and more accurate. And it's not to paint doom and gloom, but this is like real talk. I try to share these through our social media team every day on LinkedIn, and I try to make sure that we redact everything that we need to, but to help each of you see this is the sophistication that's happening. And the reality is, it's not that I don't believe in government collaboration. I just can tell you on this stage, it's fucking ineffective. There is nothing we are doing, whether it's Europol, the federal government, et cetera, that is making a difference to cybercrime right now. And I'm including all the collaboration that I participate in, all the takedowns that we've sent people to jail. It is not slowing the curve. So what I need you to do is consider, if perfect prevention is out of reach, how do we make this realistic? How do we make this more exciting? How do we make this more attainable? And I'll tell you the answer is how you tell the story. So let's go. I'm going to start with some modern hacking demo, and I'll clarify real quick that some of you are probably like, all right, we're going to go bust out some AI. I will tell you, in the wild, augmented or AI augmented hacking is here. It's happening. We talk about it a lot, but it's ugly. If any of you have had a chance to take a look on a daily basis, like if you thought detection engineering was, easy when people were just having like clear text credentials that we could just make basic scripts to match in patterns, like AI is really verbose, and it will be more than happy to leave you every one of the comments that's there. Sometimes they're in Cyrillic, sometimes they're not, but the point that I'm getting at is I'm not seeing leaps and bounds better with AI yet, and usually where I am seeing AI is in automation. So I'm not going to give you guys a demo showing how to detect what, we found that the source code or this basic script or something like that is using emojis in it. I mean, no offense. Somebody getting down isn't like checkbox, time symbol, it's just, that's not how it's working, right? And I'll tell you, some of this stuff is so darn bad that my favorite was recently a browser plugin. It was based on Chromium, so think of Edge, Chrome, and everything else that's built on it. And its whole goal was to take down your credentials. It was an info stealer, right? Except its exfiltration part of exfilling to, I think it might have been Telegram is where this example happened. They didn't even implement the code. The AI was just fill this part in with the part we can't do. And the threat actors were like, herpa derp derp derp. They got access, they got in. Thank goodness there was no exfil. And we actually saw them over several weeks because our data is so large. We saw them troubleshoot this. And ironically, if you read the small text on the bottom, they didn't even figure out Telegram wasn't exfilling. Well, instead, they started switching strings to let's go after Coinbase instead of QuickBooks data or vice versa, but the actual regex was still looking for QuickBooks. They're literally herpa-derping this as vibe coders. So the part that I'm getting at is this hacking demo and how I want to help you all tell your story externally. AI is fun, and you should bring it in there, but I want to set that while some great teams are using AI in amazing ways, and it will happen, most of the stuff that I think that makes good demos right now is to make things more approachable. So that's where I'm going to go here with just a little bit of time to do some hacking. Anybody out there got something to sacrifice to demo gods? We're on hotel Wi-Fi. We're going to be doing live credentials. I left a phone out here that I'll need here in a second. Here we go. My goal is to be able to storytell with you all. So I'll set the tone. Nothing more than a Windows desktop here. This is going to be, by the way, my shady hacker. And when my VM comes up here in a second, I'm going to be showing you a little bit of that, call him the victim, right? And I think that's fair to call him that. So let's get going. Typical environment. And the reason that I'm doing a hacking demo here is I actually really believe if you're not telling stories this way to bring people along, to show people what modern cybercrime looks like, even though I've given you all kinds of doom and gloom and negativity, I think it's really important that we start with how does this resonate? How do you not just, if I gave you guys just slides, for instance, you'd be like, great, Kyle fucking gave me a whole bunch of slides. You need to see it. I need to show you and not tell you. And my point is, I'm going to we've been working for the last several months on trying to make this hacking demo to the point that a junior IT technician can deliver this for you. So when you're educating, thinking about to the month of, maybe January that just passed us, as I get this, I'm giving it time. It's processing on the back end is what we're doing here. So I'm tap dancing a little bit. But the part that I want to give you is in the month of January, how many of you honestly went out to your community and made a difference? Pitched your community en masse, something bigger than 5 people. I mean, I know it's weird to raise hands, and I'm not calling shame. This is rhetorical. But if you're asking that question of how we're all getting wrecked and what we're doing about cybercrime is, you have to do more to educate. And to be honest, this is why they say it takes a village. We as geeks are primed to be some of the best and most exciting storytellers that are out there that also pays us a pretty good wage that keeps this real adversary. Because if you think about the adversaries we're against, AI is making most places more relevant. What I mean by this is less people theoretically should get sick when we're replacing garbage WebMD with real decent advice coming from an LLM based on trusted best practices. Not everything is death, like WebMD says. But cybersecurity is one of the very few industries that is actually not improving. People are leveraging cybersecurity to do good. They're leveraging AI to do good in cybersecurity, but we have a real adversary. Like, for instance, What's the latest, pandemic? Bird flu, swine flu, something like that today? The swine flu's not using, open AI to spread yet. The points that I'm getting at is we really have to consider this. So I've given enough tap dancing to make sure that my environment is snappy. And so all we're looking at, right, and I want to make sure that I'm showing you the way that I do demos, is to be able to make it like I've got my whole playbook here. It's nothing but copy and paste. So you guys have seen these environments over and over. These are live credentials, so if anybody wants to interrupt my webinar, go to town. I did this once on a live actual Zoom, and my phone almost melted as I had like 9,000 authentication requests. So we're going to see, as we're letting the internet do its thing, taking its sweet time, theoretically we shouldn't be waiting, but what's going to go down is Grady here, there was an issue logging into your account. Lovely. Can we get anything? All right, the point that I'm going to get at is creds these days, anybody still use like dark web data lookups? Let's be real, like it's just a whole bunch of these databases recycled over and over. The credentials aren't very active, but sometimes you get lucky, right? Sometimes you get lucky enough that you actually can take something down. So let's go back. Let's make sure that we've got our demo. And as we try logging in with Grady here in just 1 second and logging into this account, we're going to use his username and we're going to authenticate using Authenticator, right? Typical, no like fancy pants tactics here. And this is just the victim, assuming we can actually do our demo. That would be quite the bummer if... Do we have a tech support person in here that could help? It's always DNS. That is the only right answer. VM, that's worth, let's go do an 8.8.8.8 test here real quick. I had to make the joke about demo gods, and they're like, hold my beer. You are right. It looks like we're not resolving this way or something along those. So we'll figure out what's going on with pass-through. Looks like everything else is going. I don't think there's anything special about the Wi-Fi down here. I don't think it matters whether we're bridged or natted, but let's go. The point that I'm going to get at, and when I do my hacking demo, and we'll get this working because it's not complex, think about when you authenticate. How many times do you authenticate to Microsoft 365 and you choose that lovely option that says, do you want to stay signed in for a little bit longer? It's a big convenience feature, right? Huge. It's the type of feature that allows you to not have to reprompt credentials every, handful of days. And I think you can configure, sometimes it's 15 days, sometimes it's 50 days, right, depending on what the app is. The part that I want to get at as I kind of, again, just continue tap dancing and try to deliver us a live hacking demo, that's great, is some of these technologies don't require a big sexy vulnerability or big sexy AI. It's just abusing the features that really matter. And so what I'll do, if we don't get this, I'll actually show you that I've staged quite a bit. It's enough that allows us to be able to make this example, Debbie's Cake Shop. Let's be real. Debbie, even if she's the world's greatest cake manufacturer, she probably needs someone like you to take care of it. And I don't care if that means she's doing 250 cakes a day or 250 cakes a year. However small or mature, she's going to need some help. With that, she also just needs to be able to get her needs met, right? And so, for instance, one of the places that I wanted to take you on my live demo here is I wanted to show the scenario of like what happens when you go and say, for instance, whether you use Gemini or ChatGPT. I know it's not going to render here, but I've got some staged for offline. So let's see if we can get some goodness going. You can go to town if you want. I'm pretty fucking good at tap dancing, brother. The point that I'm getting here, you come beat and we'll actually show the demo. The point that I'm getting at is nowadays, let's be real, you've heard it 1,000 times. Every single one of these, phishing emails come up, and they're pretty good that they're no longer as commonly typoed, right? We get pretty good English because of the LLMs. So what I'll do in my demo is we'll authenticate it as Grady. I'll quickly fly through the process of accepting it. There's nothing shady about it. Grady goes, he's properly protected, he's doing his business. We'll hit him with an email, and the email's just gonna be the typical, hey, some sense of urgency, right? We've all heard this from awareness training for 100 years. The part that I'm gonna get at is some of the techniques used for phishing, especially in 2025 that are bleeding into 2026, are very good. And what I mean by that is the criminals and the same type of marketing I'm encouraging you all and education I'm trying to encourage you all, they're putting that same creative energy into making sure that the emails don't feel like a broken English writer actually wrote the thing. They're making sure that when you're hitting a landing page, it's using company names, and every single part of the phishing kit these days are smooth. So as we're beating up VMware here and waiting for it to go, I'm curious, how many in the audience know of ClickFix? It's been around for almost a year. All right, we got some hands. For those that don't know, and I'll show this because I have it prepped for offline, of keys typically hits you with some sort of, hey, I need you to do a combination of keystrokes that you usually wouldn't do. And it's abusing the fact that browsers can natively add stuff directly to your clipboard, especially as an unprivileged user. So think about that. Grady A, no admin rights. You all have done your job. In addition to it, maybe you've got some zero trust technology rolling. Sweet. So this is my ClickFix demo here. And if you take a look as my Vanna White is helping me, you saw that we good to go? We'll see. This is a community, right? Hot damn, look at that. When I told you it takes a community, I'm part of that community that needs help, right? And when I told you I only do PowerPoint, not a good look, Kyle. So let's go, right? We're at Microsoft. We're going to start flying real quick. We'll get Grady in. We'll hope that authentication comes in quick as we use multiple phones here. Look at this. Killing it. I owe more than beers. We'll take care of you after that, sir. All right, let's get some password. It's complex. It's unique. It's never been leaked anywhere else, or maybe not till this example. And so we're in, right? We've got the typical, hey, hit me up with your authentication. We get the typical authentication. I put in the number 47 and voila. It checks my face. Grady is who he says he is. And theoretically, we're in. And Grady is all about productivity, right? So the first thing he does is stay signed in. Some of you are already like, I don't like that stay signed in button. I'm equally uncomfortable. And of course, right, you get the whole cloud available to you, your Microsoft apps, Outlook is always fun, right? And so where I'm going is I won't do the ChatGPT creation of the email. You all are creative enough to know you can do an email. But the email would eventually look at some level of like, hey, please get me to a page that is, I don't know, believable to Grady, some level of urgency. And so what I did is we're skipping the part that I generate the email just for the timeliness of this. And I got him to SharePoint-debbiescakes.com. I'll make it a little bit bigger for anybody that's equally blind. And as we go and try to make this full screen here, we're going to see, it's pretty good, right? You see that the Microsoft page is blurred. You see that it's got reCAPTCHA, all things that you recognize. By the way, this stuff is available for less than $5 is how much it costs the kit to do this phishing. You click, I'm not a robot, because of course I have to prove I'm a human. Only legit things would do this. And I know those of you who haven't seen ClickFix are reading right now, and the grumble you just heard is everybody who has seen ClickFix, because they're immediately like, this is why I told them we got to put that group policy not to run Windows Key R. I'm right there with you. But we know what's going to happen, right? Is they're going to open Windows Key R, they're going to paste, and you're already looking down at my toolbar, and you can see what I showed. If you can't see it, it says, credential dump simple.ps1. Hopefully your zero trust is set up, right? Your EDR will tell you after you already lost all your creds, but you know what's going to happen, right? Is this is going to run, you're going to go do your thing, PowerShell is going to disappear, and what I've done is I've set up this to steal the credentials. So remember I told you that was the victim machine in my VM? This is the threat actor machine, so what I've done is I've cheated. You don't need to be a super hacker to do a cool demo. I'm using the built-in feature on Windows to dump from VMware or whatever virtualization software straight to my desktop on this machine. But I've got a copy just by running that one command with no admin rights, falling for nothing more than Windows key R, which opens the run prompt, Control V, which pastes the stuff on your clipboard, and enter, just like that, ran the command, and it dumped every saved credential, every saved username. And the part that really stinks is, let's be real, if I got that username and say I just got it off the dark web, as you do, and I try to log into my guy here, Grady A. Let's watch what happens, right? We log in as Grady A. We get in here, and maybe I just got off the dark web. I had a subscription or a marketplace, and I bought a credential. How big of a difference is that going to make here? What is the threat actor? Oh, look at this, my timed out, liar. There we go. My threat actor doesn't have access to my phone. And to be honest, most of our employees that we protect, right, whether they're internal to our company or they're external as like a business that we help support, they're not important enough to get some sort of 0-day for iOS or some sort of maybe, scamming somebody at the local Verizon or AT&T to do SIM swapping, SIM jacking. They're not that important. So what happens is this threat actor is dead in the water, right? They're not getting past that credential. Now the thing is like this isn't a vulnerability in Microsoft software or anything, but remember, we collected more than just username and passwords because we got Grady, for instance, to click this link and run this simple command. We collected all the time-sensitive tokens, security tokens, or cookies sometimes is referred to, and what it did is it dumps them out. I'm talking about the ugliest format you've ever seen in your life. It's just a whole bunch of JSON here. All this nonsense that I'm scrolling is everything it takes to authenticate as Grady. But remember, Grady clicked save me as logged in, right? So what we can do in this example is I never make it past. I can't get in as this threat actor. But since I had since phished Grady, got them to click the link, I can go in and import these cookies. Let me make sure I got them all. And part of importing just like this, let's open another tab here real quick. Notice I haven't had access to the phone. I hadn't done anything along those lines. Yet I have time-valid tokens that says, yo, Grady, you're the man dog. And just like that on that machine, I hit Outlook. I've done nothing. I haven't hacked anything. Microsoft's not at fault. This is how this software works. And I'm in Grady's inbox, just like this is a threat actor. You can buy these, by the way, authenticated tokens for about $15. They're time-bounded. So, of course, the first thing the threat actor does, right, is they try to double down. What I see, the most common ways that they double down of course, they go to your apps, they start moving to OneDrive, Excel. Teams, by the way, is the number one thing that most of your employees aren't considering. They want to go to who is in charge of device registration and register another device. So they'll slip into a company's Teams or your IT department's Teams, and they will try their best to get another phone registered for you. My other favorite simple type of persistence, this is from like back in the beginning of the business email compromise days, is they know how to use our tools against us really, really well. So I've already seen smiles out here in the audience. So one of my favorite, right, is the simple, like, want a copy of the email? Sure. Let's enable forwarding, right? Who do you want to forward every single email to? Even if that token disappears tomorrow, they're getting a copy of every one of your emails. And if they got the right person handling accounts payable or something along those lines, it's obviously valuable. Imagine your audience that you're educating. Again, not your MSP, not your technicians internally, but imagine somebody who says, like, how hard was this? Every part of this demo could have been done by somebody non-technical in your audience. They could come in here and put this together. Or if you really wanted to get sophisticated and educate people what they're up against, my favorite are the conditional rules, right? The type of rules in email that allows you to be able to say, hey, not do I just want to format things, right? But I actually want to make sure that, like, when a situation happens, for instance, when an email like, how about hide? We see this happen on the daily, unfortunately, at the, usually for people that are mortgage companies or title companies. They will create a rule with a terrible name, usually it's just like a period or something like that, and they will add a condition that says, yo, anytime it's from or the body or the subject contains like these patterns or these things that look like a routing number, etc., and then forever, right, that email is going to them. Forever they're moving laterally. And the part that I'm getting at is I'm just being careful of my time. Every part of this hacking demo brings people into the loop so they don't just hear shady hacker in a hoodie in their parents' basement going after them. You're helping make them aware that there are tech support people that know how all this technology works, that with a couple dollars can build a campaign like we saw and get into your email, and from there move to all your endpoints, move to your SharePoint, move to your OneDrive, move to everything that matters, and most importantly, get into your line of business apps. Do you see the difference of the education that we did of like slides that bore you and how we do this hacking demo? So my goal at the end of this is to release this type of hacking demo to you all and hopefully encourage you all enough to be able to take this and build on your own. We've got some custom apps that we built. One of the common things we see that gets added is even for an unprivileged user. Sometimes Microsoft environments aren't hardened by something awesome like SIP that goes and tells people like, maybe end users shouldn't be able to add their own apps to Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. And the part that I'm getting at is when somebody's able to add an app, like that favorite app that we see, it's backup apps, it's forwarding apps, it's apps that all they do is steal everything. And oftentimes those apps, after they get in and they affect your line of business and they extort your database and you think you're done, what you don't know is one of the things they already exfilled was all your email. They'll run a quick harvesting tool. We see this happen and proof of this happening with AI, that a lot of the AI tools will take every one of your emails. It'll parse anybody you've ever sent or received email from. And then after you think you're fully done, you haven't paid the ransom, you restored everything from backup, they will gladly send 50,000 emails to anybody you've ever done, spoofing their email address saying, I've hacked you, I've done this, and they just smear your reputation, both of your client and indirectly of you all as their MSP or MSSP, et cetera. It is what it is, right? This is the type of way that I think that we have to consider. And I just, again, really want to appreciate you guys helping me with the demo, helping me with where I'm going. So I want to bring it down to wrecking cybercrime and make sure that this tees up a pretty good ending for us in the last 8 minutes. I need you all to consider your role here is not just delivering tech. I would encourage you to weaponize their model. Consider what your position is and how you talk about your people, how you explain that your people are aware of this or ahead of this, and how you combine your great people, your in-house expertise, your great processes with technology, whether you're partnering with a Microsoft, a Huntress, whoever, I don't care. And then explain to them your proof points, because threat actors use the same thing. But the difference is you all are selling the one thing that they want the most, which is they want to be able to sleep easy at night. They want predictable peace of mind. I want you to go back and ask, how do you show, not tell? This skinny nerd was teaching at IT Nation 8 years ago. And you all taught me first and foremost that I had to get beyond my skinny geek ways and I had to go out there and evangelize. I had to go out there and show people how this stuff actually happens. So I'm still a skinny nerd. I'm just on a slightly bigger stage. And I would encourage, for those of you who want to sit in the background and want to be technical, find the one that has the jabberjaws. Find the salesperson that used to be somebody maybe technical and used to do things maybe they were jailbreaking a PSP back in the day or something like that. Find somebody who you can partner with to tell these stories. Because your buyers don't want more acronyms. They don't care about DMARC, AI, SOC, SAT, SIM, fuck all. They just don't care. What they really want is they want you. They want a trusted educator. This is how you actually pay increase. I'm talking about yourself. You bring in more money to your company. You bring in more money by doing stuff that people value. Because what people really want is resilience, and they want compliance, and they want visibility. They don't care that you have an EDR, SIM, ITDR, SOC, ISPM, zero trust. And they just need your help understanding it, and they need your help operating it. I used to say a rising tide lifts or raises all boats. I'll probably end here close with one of my spiciest comments, that now that I have 8,000 plus partners, I'm not worried about offending somebody in this office, because to be very frank, if you're here in this room, you're not one that I'm talking about. But not all partners are created equally. Some MSPs need to go out of business. That's what I'm saying. That's not a fucking compliment. There, I'll take the comment. I'll take it. I have incidents that I find and my team finds, and they don't take action sometimes for days or weeks. Agentic is the best thing that could ever happen to Huntress, because now we have an excuse to do it for people, still allowing you to be able to opt out. But the part I want to share is some of this, people don't care like you. They're not taking the time to learn. They're not taking the time here. And I see really good, caring people losing their jobs or going to other places because the company couldn't run payroll for 3-6 weeks because an MSP didn't react fast enough, or didn't want to get sales savvy enough to actually make that decision. We're going to fire that customer because they only want to pay $65 a user per month, and they won't actually buy in to what we are currently operating on our stack. The best MSPs, by the way, the ones that are really getting it done, they understand this world is moving co-managed. I see 20 employee MSPs providing outsourced security only to 2,000 employee companies. The world of co-managed is here. I would encourage you all not to just assess your pitch and your motivation and your education, but how you do packaging. I don't think the world of one size fits all you can eat has to be your only answer, but I would encourage you to be very deliberate. Let's not go back to the days of having 10,000 SKUs. And the world is agentic. It's going this way. I'm watching the technology. It's getting better. How we develop code and use this internally, it's happening, but I'm telling you, humans are key. The part that I want to remind each of you in this audience of about 500 is humans are no longer humans in the loop. Quit looking at yourself that way. In the modern world, humans are in the lead. We tell AI what to do, we tell it what not to do, we shape this, we create the architecture, and we don't worry about the mundane monotonous, even if that's coding, something that I used to value as my most significant skill. You need to be able to get it done. Humans are in the lead, not the loop. And even though we're at Write-A-Boom, I will share Write-A-Boom is not enough. So whether you're an enforcer out here or somebody else, a threat locker, you guys need to consider Left-A-Boom. It fucking matters a lot. Detection, response is sexy. That's where we started, but even Huntress has to evolve. If you're not thinking, how do you allow these situations to help you restore? We're in 2026. How come when I know every file that's ransomed, those files aren't automatically restored from backup? Literally instantaneous. Yeah, we had the provisioning to the cloud. This is stuff that we have to evolve, including myself. And I have to evolve in the way I storytell. So my last thing to be able to share here is one of the big things. This is so new, there's not even a web page for it. But one of the things that we had to soul search in 25 is we're not doing a good enough job storytelling and helping you all, enabling you all as partners. You're not my customers, you're my partner. It's the reason I'm here. And we're having to get better at telling these stories that teeter on the line sometimes of legality, sometimes that teeter on the line of like they're embarrassing. But our goal here is to launch Declassified here in the next month, telling stories that you all can use for education that eventually turn into sales. And I'll just end with a little bit of uplifting piece. I do believe that community is the answer here. I do believe it's not just caring, but it's doing the right things, and we'll speed up. I also think that as we together start getting real, having talk, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones, adopting new technology, but also calling some technology garbage where it is. Not all vendors are created equally, and not all MSPs are created equally. I think we can actually start to slow the pace of cybercrime. So I hope that leaves you all with something to consider. Again, I cannot thank you enough for helping me with my technical demo. That was amazing. And with that said, I hope you guys have just the kick-ass solid Write-A-Boom that you all deserve. I hope you go home and bring these lessons to your audience. And I hope we all can help you. If you need anything, hassle Huntress. That's it.